give Facebook Live world a taste of the energy that's in the room that they're missing right now. So can I get, look, we're all on Facebook Live right now, at least the presentation will be. So let's show everybody what they're missing by not being here. Good morning, 1 Million Cups Daytona Beach. So we'd love you if you're watching us on Facebook Live, but we'd love you even more for all of you that are in the room. I'm Michael Zaharias, one of your volunteer organizers. This is 1 Million Cups Daytona Beach. Okay? We have a growing crew of organizers. Organizers, put your hands up, please, if you're an organizer of Million Cups. We've got new organizers. We'll make an official announcement on that. But before we get started, I also want to say that I know there is one birthday in the room today. And it is for Lori McMullen. Here we go. Do you want a happy birthday song from... Welcome. Yeah. Did go off. I ran out of battery power, but that's okay because I got plenty of battery power right here. All right, so Million Cups is a program from the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. Right now, in more than 200 cities across the country, you can find a 1 Million Cups meetup just like this going on. The whole idea is to bring entrepreneurs together, to connect them, to educate them, and to inspire them. There is no, let me repeat this, no bad idea in this room, no bad presentation that comes for us on this great stage, okay? It's a supportive group. We're going to go through the presentation today. I want to set this up just so you know where we're going. We're going to do the presentation for about 20 minutes. We're going to take Q&A. We're going to grab a group photo, and then the business actually has their product here outside in the parking lot behind us that they would like to give those that are interested in demonstration, okay? So that's going to be the flow. So who do we have in the room today? We have Superior Handling Equipment. Are you ready for this? Yeah. 40 years in business. 40 years in business in Ormond Beach, right here in Volusia County.
We make it here.
That's right, we make it here. Dave Pfeiffer, our manufacturer's representative. And all amazing things as well, okay? So, Mike Vollmar is the CEO of Superior, okay? And they're going through a whole remix of the company, but they're coming out with a new product at the same time. So he's got a lot to share with us, a short amount of time to do it. I want you to please help me give it up for Mr. Mike Vollmar.
We're working on it. We'll just have
What size batteries do you need?
we got that list.
Okay.
You can yell, Mike.
Okay. Well, I want to, this is an honor to be here in front of all of you. I kind of accepted on short notice. I've got my life here in a bunch of words. Million Cups means something to me. I'm chemically dependent on caffeine. So that's impressive. Does anybody know who Jeff Spicoli is?
Spicoli rules!
So I grew up at a high school about the same time that movie was filmed, and my high school was just like that. It was a few years earlier. Bikinis were in. We were all surfers. Our high school was divided into little cliques. We had the guys that the drug generation, LSD and everything was in front of us. We had marijuana and stuff going on. I was at a lunch meeting, and everybody around the table was talking about their horrible childhood. Don was in Boston. There were race wars going on. Morelli had to fight his way to school in the Queens. Everybody had these stories, and I was kind of quiet. And somebody said, Mike, I go, look, I don't want to talk about my childhood. They said, come on, we all talk. And I said, it was wonderful. We had people of all races. We all got along. And, in our high school had these cliques. We had the chess club. I was a surfer. I had long hair down to here. We had guys that had actually done a few drugs, and they were Hare Krishnas off in the corner. But anyways, So as I grew up, I was always a hard worker. I had jobs from, gosh, I think I was 12. I worked in restaurants. My friend and I had a company, Bonsai Fine Line, kind of like Bonsai Pipeline. Our cards both read President. And you know, we painted homes and we did things. And all along, from the age of 2 to 16, I would go as a long-haired surfer, and I'd work with Orville Hargens, my grandfather's foreman in Iowa on the farm. And Orville had to put up with a lot because we go into these little redneck restaurants and there's this long-haired kid. But he'd give me challenges. I'd be walking a bean field, which is cutting weeds, and basically with a machete. And he'd say, Mike, see those 4 kids there? Their field is the same size as ours. I'd go after it. But my one thing was I didn't really have a passion for anything. I managed to get a business degree from University of San Diego, which is a really fine school. I majored in business administration and I minored in surfing. At some point, my father, I guess with a taser, pre-taser period, I suppose, but he let me know that I had to get a job. I went to work for Bank of America during a recession. I was the only employee hired during the month of August because I wanted to go to Brawley, California, a place nobody should ever really want to go. But that was sort of the center of agriculture in the United States. I learned a lot. One story, there's a family friend, Ed Rutherford, ran a big cattle business there, and he was a major customer of the bank, which helped me with the bank manager tremendously. But Ed and I and another young junior loan officer were in his car. And we had a rough day because what they did to the junior loan officers at that point, if you recall, variable rate interest was coming in, and a lot of financial advisors were telling everybody, you got to jump on this, interest rates are lower. Well, it went from 6 to 21%, and people were losing their farms. So the junior loan officers had the job of foreclosing on family farms. And everyone kind of hated us. So we're in the car with Ed Rutherford, and the young man's complaining about his job, and Ed did a 4-wheel slide, almost went into a ditch. Said, young man, you take a check from that company. You can't ever complain about a company you take a check from. You know, so that was kind of a lesson. So I learned a lot in banking. I had an ag portfolio, I had a commercial loan portfolio. It was a job. I learned that what I really wanted to do was get involved in building a company. And one day I got a promotion and I went to lunch and I came in and resigned because I didn't like it. But at the same time I had an opportunity in a startup. So I started an anti-cancer in San Diego with a couple of prominent research PhDs at University of California. So we set up cancer labs. We brought in PhDs, had a lot of grad students. Our key technology was the ability to grow 3-dimensional tumors in petri dishes. We had an incubator that resembled the human body. And so we had grants from Glaxo and Merck. We would test their chemotherapeutic products. It looked like just a crossword. You'd have little pieces of tumor on there. And in 21 days, we could go back to the pathology lab and tell them which formula worked best for a particular patient. And then we would send a report to Glaxo or Merck showing if their chemotherapeutic product worked. That was passion for me. There were no boundaries. You could just go at it. We set up the company. Along the way, one of the leaders of it was kind of clear to me it was becoming more of a hobby, and he wasn't real transparent in where the business was going. A friend of mine, I'll turn the page here. Probably be better out without it. So page 2. So anyways, a friend of mine at Scripps Institute of Oceanography, Jim Cairns, Dr. Jim Cairns, was a geophysicist. And he had been developing underwater connectors to make his experiments work at sea. They get the valuable ship time, they build new sensors and things, go out there, and a $5 connector would fail when they couldn't get results. So Jim was smart enough, more than smart enough, to patent his ideas. He patented one product and sold it to Lockheed. was retained as director of all offshore engineering for a number of years. And about this time, when the agreement not to compete expired, I was traveling through Italy, and Jim showed me, kind of between drink cocktails, showed me the drawings for a new product. And he was going to start a company called Ocean Design, and he was going to start it in Daytona Beach because his parents lived in the area. So I thought, that's pretty cool. And the next day I could vaguely remember it with a massive hangover. But anyway, so a few weeks pass, and then Jim calls me from a bar in Italy where there's couples fighting, you can hardly hear them, and he said he is in fact starting the company, and might I consider coming to administer the business for him? So I did. I flew out to Daytona Beach, and I took a chance. There were 3 of us in Ocean Design at that time. Jim had a connector in a high-profile test with the oil industry. I think there were 3 or 4 major oil companies involved. We had 3 people, no air conditioning, no customers. We call it the good old days. But one thing we did was we sat down and we did a strategic plan. It was probably on a cocktail napkin. But we were going to be the undisputed leader in underwater electrical and fiber optic connectors in 5 years, which is interesting because we didn't have any fiber optics at this time. We were going to do that. We were going to do papers, presentations, get out and see everybody we could. We looked at the market and determined that for us, print advertising didn't mean anything. We did trade shows, but there were 100 names we got a hold of, and we needed to know those 100 people, and they needed to know us. So we went out and met them all. And 5 years later, the company we doubled revenue every year. 5 years later, we were the undisputed leader. So along the way, I mean, when you're building a company like that, as I said, there are no boundaries. But you have financial limitations. We would get orders. You need to hire people. You need a new building. You need more orders. I got us involved in Norway. Had a good agent there, and I went to the Norwegian oil show. I was 35 years old. I was the president of the company, and it was really exciting times. I went on a boat trip in Stavanger with our agent. A bunch of his customers were there, some prominent oil industry people. So we went up the fjord after the oil show, which, by the way, in the oil industry, the oil show takes a lot of drinking. So we're on this boat, we go up, and so we sit down in this farmhouse. We walk up to this farmhouse. We have a tremendous salmon dinner. It's like all you could eat. And then I go, wow, that's about all I can handle. They said, well, you better get ready because it's a custom in Norway that you have 2 meals. So then we have a second salmon dinner. We're driving back on the boat, and this one oil executive is really drunk, and I grab him right when he's falling off the boat. So then later, when we get back, he invites me to this dinner. People said, oh my God, that is like the oil industry. Those are like the kings of the industry, the leaders. So we go to this, so he has me meet at 5:30 in the afternoon. And I thought, shoot, because all I did was I was hawking our products at the show, going out drinking all night with oil executives, making all these contacts. He has me meet at 5:30, so we're there, and he says, what do you want? I said, geez, I've never had Aquavit. I've had every other cocktail in the world while I've been here. So he gets me my own bottle. I find out dinner isn't until 8. I got no energy left, So anyways, we're at dinner, and they got my own bucket with Aquavit there. And I can remember just kind of looking up, and they were talking about whaling in Norway. The Norwegians, I've been reading this, that they really wanted to bring back whaling. They have a coastal variety of whale. And so all of a sudden, everybody's looking at me, and they go, Mike, what do you think of whaling? And I said, it's a really good idea. And then they were toasting me as their favorite American. It did wonders for our business. But anyways, so I was with, it was all those years, it was so exciting. I had offices in Houston, Aberdeen, Rio, Daytona. One year I flew on 23 different airlines. We hired Gary Clark from the UK oil industry about 94. And he's now joined us as our engineering manager in our Dynamo 13.5 person company. So anyways, I was with Ocean Design for about 14 years. I believe now, Gary, they're up to about, well, until a couple of years ago in the oil downturn, I believe they got up to 1,100 employees and maybe 170 million in revenue. From 3 people with an idea. Page 3. I'm almost through this thing, but anyways, so when I left, I didn't want to move to Houston or to have a real job because I didn't feel like I'd had a job for years and years. I joined Charles Lichtigman in Charles Wayne Properties. He's pretty entrepreneurial. We ran into a little manufacturing company that we thought had something behind it. They had an incredible dock lift. So it would be like the top one there. So we'll get into this later, but anyways, I did a due diligence and we felt like it was worthwhile. We bought into the company. I was a minority partner, and I kind of overwhelmed them with business plans and things because I then envisioned what if you could mobilize that product, which you see in the bottom picture. And my partners really weren't interested as a minority partner. So about this time, I was on the board of Radon. Don Ariel and Dave Donovan were friends of mine. And I also was annoying the hell out of them. So one day they said, well, you know, you do it, you join us, you can be president and CEO. Little did I know that meant my office was between theirs, and they never agreed on anything right away. So, but I will say that along the way I really developed a collaborative management style. You bring everybody together, you work it out, problem solve themselves, and you always want to listen to the black hat in the room. They always there's some piece of what they're saying that you should take into account. So that prepared me to work with Don and Dave. So Radon also was born in this area in 1988 by 3 people. And that's a hell of a story. When I joined, we had 4 buildings. Engineering was 2.5 miles from our main office. Manufacturing was down the road, and we had a 4th facility. But the greatest challenge was having 100 engineers 2.5 miles away. It's like having your teenage guest kids in the guest house, even there, you know. So we got through that. We built a beautiful building. We added a lot of process into the company, quality. We won a $97 million contract. And one of my roles was to assist in an exit plan, and we did that in a beautiful way. For Don and Dave and all the employees, we became an ESOP, and the customers as well. So at that point, I could finally, that was 7 years, and so I resigned a really, really, really good job to build Superior. I will say that I think I was at Radon for 3 weeks. We had a trade show. We had one of our big trailerized systems on the side, and for some reason they left me alone in our booth. 2 majors came down the hallway, saw our banner, came over, and said, "Sir, we want to thank you for saving our lives and the lives of our men." And you know, I got a chill and wished I had something to do with that. But you know, for 7 years, we really did make the best products in the world. Anyways, I finally resigned that job because all along I had this idea for this goofy lift and this mobile dock lift. So I convinced my wife into buying the company, buying everybody out. And then I was still at Radon. There was an overlap of a couple of years because I couldn't let go there. So poor Beth was running a manufacturing company which I think she enjoyed. She did a really good job. So 2 years ago, I joined the company. We needed to add resources, and we added process and ISO. We hired really good people. And we've got a formal R&D process, and we've got, this potentially is $1 billion product, and it won't be made by us, it'll be made by many people. We'll get into that. So page 5. All right.
Superior Handling's robust parallelogram speed lifts have set the premier standard of safety, durability, and reliability for nearly 40 years, offering a broad range of configurations and lifting capacities from 5,000 pounds all the way up to 24,000 pounds. We can build nearly anything to accommodate our customers' needs. Speed lifts handle all types types of cargoes safely and smoothly, as our friend Larry can attest. Choose wisely. Choose Speed Lifts as your loading dock solution.
So we rebranded the company with this cool logo, and we make really big lifts. We've sold them occasionally to some really interesting places, but I want to get some attention on the company and everything. Yeah, that is a real elephant. There's a place called All About Elephants, and if you Google it, a woman has 5 of them near Gainesville. And if you have children, it's the best hour you'll ever spend. She does all kinds of demos and stuff, but anyways, I can go off on tangents. So let's see. So now, everybody here is excited about Bitcoins and marijuana stocks, right? Well, material handling is way cooler. And we have a really sexy product outside after this presentation. I hope you'll come by and see. So what do you predict the size of the material handling industry will be by 2024? Does anyone want to take a guess?
190 million.
190 billion. Jane gets a prize. I don't know. There'll be free drinks at a VMA meeting. So so the quantity of new forklift sales in the U.S. in 2007, is it there?
31.5.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's 250,000. And worldwide a million forklifts. The forklift market will be $59 billion by 2021. Worldwide tractor trailers move 75% of the goods we use. And so Superior's been in this industry for a lot, and this part of the industry really hasn't changed all that much. Okay. The last page. So basically what we've done with the company, and I'll just let that stuff roll, but what we've done is we've reset the structure for prolonged profitable growth. We've switched from, we were doing direct marketing for years and basically order taking. This one thing that's frustrated me from the beginning. So now we have manufacturer reps. We've in a couple months got 35 states covered. These guys have, so one manufacturing rep will handle multiple states, but underneath them they have up to 200 distributors. We exhibited at Modex show, which was really exciting for me. It was in April in Atlanta. 30,000 people interested in logistics. So now that I've gone through cancer and I've cured cancer and underwater connectors and stuff, it was really, because I tell people about my mobile dock lift and they go, have you had psychiatric care lately? And people don't get it at all. And when you suddenly have people come down and go, oh my God, this thing's unbelievable. Or they'd be coming down this escalator, we were in the overflow building, and then some guy would yell, a speed lift, I haven't seen those in years. And because our marketing was really, we had a couple of really good customers and we did direct marketing by a couple of people. So now we're really getting out and broadening that whole market. So anyway, we'll get to it.
Maybe tell them a little more about what a speed lift is. What's a mobile dock lift? Yeah, a dock lift in general.
So what we have is, the design is more of a cantilever design, and we don't really want a negative market, but we go against scissor lift designs. They're inferior, the physics of them is just horrible. They have a natural shearing action. People get injured. They're about half the speed. We right now are refurbing, you want to talk about green products? We're refurbing four speed lifts that are 25 to 29 years old, and they'll ship out on Monday to a customer. They'll go for another 15 years. And they're better than anything on the market. So we have these automatic folding ramps. If you use any of the competing product, you would have your load, and then you walk around your load, and you have to bend down and put this little ramp down every time. The speed with which we can unload a truck is unbelievable. And So it has dual controls, all those things. I'm not gonna- So here's the mobile dock lift. And you can see we've learned all the lessons from what we've been building all these years, but it's on wheels. It can be towed behind a truck or another vehicle. You can unload all kinds of things. It'll work across industry, from agriculture, construction, material handling. Military applications are huge. At a couple of conferences, I don't think I can run fast enough, but there were a couple of retired sergeants that wanted to kill me because this product was not available in Iraq or Afghanistan when they were there. You're on the red, blue, or green team, and you're loading boxes up to 100 pounds every night, and every morning you're unloading them by hand. And these things one day will be towed behind military vehicles. They just don't, nobody knows this yet, so it's their secret. So we covered a lot. That's interesting. The day we filmed that elephant lift, our photographer was over in Orlando, and he saw that picture in the upper right-hand corner. I mean, that's fairly typical of what you see out there. If you're unloading a truck, you're doing it by hand or by a forklift. I mentioned forklifts, but we don't really fit into any exact category. But it's like we're sort of an adaptation of a forklift. Because if you're unloading food or water and there's no power and there's no loading dock, then you're either doing it by hand or you're doing it by forklifts. 1 in 11 there's an injury on 1 out of 11 forklifts within any given year. And those are when a forklift is being used inappropriately. So people are, a lot of times you can get to the pallets at the end with the forklift, and unless you have extra long forks, you're then putting chains around the next one and dragging it to the end. So,
Vollmar.
Sorry
For
about
over
this.
40 years, Superior Handling has been providing the top dock lift products in the world. Recently, we developed a mobilized version, the mobile dock lift, which we've deployed to Puerto Rico. Following Hurricane Maria, they had great devastation. They have no power. They have very few loading docks. We're able to unload food and water from trucks in under 15 minutes, or prior to this, it was greater than 45 with tremendous physical endurance required. We've left the lift under the supervision of Chief Paderno with the Puerto Rican National Guard.
Good morning, my name is Chief Warrant Officer Bravo. I am with the National Guard in Puerto Rico, Secret Command. La máquina no funcionó perfectamente bien. Tenemos un sistema muy bueno, organizado. La máquina trabaja con cualquier vehículo, cualquier truck. Lo que hay que hacer es nivelar. Yo le di unas recomendaciones a Mike de unos nivelcitos que se le pueden poner, pero está en una posición perfecta. En este momento aquí está la máquina. Tenemos la entrada y salida de los camiones. Todos los camiones se establecen ahí, se suben, se bajan. De esta forma tenemos todo. Nosotros tenemos el almacén al lado izquierdo. Pero es fantástico. Una paleta sube, una paleta baja. Y bajamos un tro en 40 minutos. Y ayer bajamos un tro en 15 minutos. Después bajamos uno en 14. Primero 10 paletas de agua y después 11 paletas de agua. Así que la máquina es bien buena. Y el señor Mike nos ayudó mucho con la integración de la máquina de cómo ponerla, la pusimos, la arreglamos. Él nos explicó todo, nos puso el manual. Ya tenemos 3 operadores de la máquina, así que seriamente la máquina funciona perfectamente para cualquier nivel, cualquier término.
For more information on Superior Handling and our large range of lifts, please visit our website, www.superiorlifts.com.
So that was a little bit of an adventure getting it there. That was our first prototype, and it was barely ready. I tried to get it to Texas, and through radon I had contacts into the Adjutant General's office. Unfortunately, he didn't answer the phone, but I got into Colonel Ariano was heading the whole thing for the state of Texas. He had flown over Texas earlier that morning over Houston. He said, I got that 1 minute elevator conversation. He looked at our video and said, sir, I need, how many of these can you get me? It's our major choke point. I said, I can get you 1, but I couldn't get in that one because all the roads were closed. But stay tuned, a few weeks later, we had another hurricane. And also through some of those contacts, friend Jason at Radon had served under General Buchanan, who was heading up the effort, and he used contacts to get me into Puerto Rico. So we sent it down there on our dime. I arrived at the site, all the trucks were taken, and I managed to get somebody to take my lift up, found what I thought was the right spot. I was told there were 3 different people who were in charge, and that this big mayor came up and said, I want this out of here now, you get it out of my property, I want fingers. I said, what are fingers? He said, forklifts. I said, you won't want that. Just then the chief came up. He got between me and this big mayor, and he said, you back off, you give him an hour. And there were 100 people in this facility. And an hour later, a truck arrived, and I felt like John Lennon or something. I mean, they were all cheering, and we unloaded the truck in 14 minutes. These guys, you know, they were doing it by hand before that, or even if you had a forklift. You see those big stacks of water? Those weigh 700 pounds. The trucks have holes in the floor, you know? So this thing really works, and we're just fighting our way into the market, finding our way in. Drop the microphone. Another video?
No, just, want to invite him to the event on the 14th.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, we're still working on a thing here. I accepted this a few days ago, so. Yeah, so on the 14th, we're having a launch party. You all are invited to come. We want to, first of all, kind of get involved more in the community than we have been. And we're hoping to find partners and potential investors too. So, and we'll have free alcohol, Jane.
You said that on Facebook.
All right, let's put it on the We're going to do Q&A, but I want to keep us on time because we've got about 5 minutes or so. So if you have a question, hands up. Introduce yourself when we come around. Mike, will you come back up? We're going to do a few questions before we go outside.
Hey Mike, Jessica Lovett, VMA. Quick question, when you're unloading the trucks and you have no power sources or forks to be able to get in them, how do you get the back pallets forward so that you can get them ground level? Does your machine have something that you can pull it?
So you would just use a hand pallet jack.
Okay.
And you would go up on the machine, you just push the lever, go in, push the lever, the lift goes up, the ramp folds in, you just go right up and then back it right out. So it works really well. Otherwise, they do, as I mentioned, if you have a forklift, then a lot of times you either have really long forks, which is unusual, or they'll have to put chains around the tower of water and drag it to the end. And then you get like that picture of the beer cakes. That's where a lot of injuries happen. So.
Hello, I'm Emily with Refined Search Solutions, but also with VMA. How quickly can you manufacture wood?
Yeah, right now with 13 and a half people, we're a little limited. We're going to be outsourcing. As things picked up, we'll outsource a lot of the manufacturing so that we can really scale easily. So right now we can turn out, I don't know, 8 a month or something, and then we'll get into a little hiring frenzy. I think in the future our facility will be more of an R&D and general facility, and then we'll be outsourcing a lot of the manufacturing. So.
Hi, good morning. Andy Clark with All Board Storage. You might have said this, but how is it powered? Is it battery operated? And if so, how long does the power source last on the lift itself?
Really good question. I should have answered in my presentation, but we built the first one with a gasoline motor. We have a commonly used Honda motor on it, and so it works with gasoline. And in typical style, I finally did get out to Texas, and they pointed out to me, this is wonderful, but do you understand 100% of our vehicles are diesel? So now we're going to be demonstrating the diesel one we have out in the back, which is intended for military applications. And we're working on, a lot of times, they also want redundancy. So we're building one now that'll have an electrical motor so you can plug it in. Those are really quiet and dependable, and then it'll have backup with either gasoline or diesel. So if none of that, if the diesel or gasoline went down, you could bring a generator and run the lift somewhere. But yeah. Good question. Could be propane also.
Pedro, that PFS investors, what is the price point of your assistance?
We can give you a deal if you buy 100. So it's roughly, they're gonna range from like 37 to 40, somewhere in there. A rough terrain forklift will start at 42 and go up to 70 or more. So, oh, sorry. So our regular lifts are actually a lot less expensive. Maybe the 6,000 model will start at $16,000. And we have over 5,000 of our regular speed lifts across the market, all over the country.
Hi, I'm Jenny Nazak, author of Deep Green Book and a big fan of our local manufacturing base. Do you manufacture locally at all? And another part, are you ever concerned that this equipment in some places might actually take away people's jobs?
Mike, I think we can hear your voice, so you have a great voice.
So we've always been pretty much vertically integrated. Years ago, we took when I was just initially involved, we had an 84-year-old machinist, and he was retiring, and everybody was in crisis mode, and we didn't have good drawings. So I said, no problem, put one of each part in my back of my car, and I took him to Maggie Products, and I said, Maggie, you have our business, if you can reverse engineer all these for us. We've been working with Maggie and other machinists for a long time, but other than that, we're 100% vertically integrated. In terms of jobs, I think I look more at safety. I mean, it takes so much time to unload a truck. If you would have seen, I wish I had videos from what they actually did in Texas. And 2 days after I talked to Colonel Ariano, the New York Times came out with an article. 400 trucks backed up. They need food and water and no way to unload them. You know how they're unloading them? There are a lot of National Guardsmen killing themselves. So I'm saving a lot of injuries and backs and hours. Because in Puerto Rico, I think we saved 6,000, we unloaded 6,000 pallets and saved about the same amount of hours. So the thing pays for itself.
Mike, Tom, Jordan, great presentation, incredible product, genius product, long history. So what are the business challenges that you think about at night? What is it that you need help with?
That's our question. Less than 60 seconds.
Okay. So it's not unlike the challenges Ocean Design had all those years ago. We had really good products, but we had to find the market and build the market. Sorry. Offshore, fortunately for that company, the offshore oil industry was coming on along the same time frame. But for us, we're now introducing a product to agriculture, construction. Everywhere we introduce it, it's a new product. And so one of the big challenges to overcome is to get inertia and traction into these markets. And so we will do that because the product is really good and it works. But that is a challenge. And then Beth and I need financial support. So one thing we're out is looking for investors because we have a plan and we just need some more funding to really get out there.
All right, let's give it up to Mike. So, all of our speakers get one of our Million Cups mugs, right? We carry around. You got to fill this with coffee because you're going to